Hello, I'm Allison Miller, a global partner at Tiara International, and I am delighted to bring you a new Tiara tool from the Tiara Resource Circle. This one is about alignment, and specifically, this Tiara tool is designed to have you consider more deeply that environmental alignment, a specific kind of alignment, can have a really positive impact on you having the experience of feeling like you're in the flow more often. I imagine that you who are watching this video are someone who actually is probably a high performer, cares about producing results, cares about making things happen, cares about being influential in a positive way, wants to live a life, aligned with your values. And a lot of the things that you're up to are hard and challenging. And it doesn't necessarily feel great to move through the spaces that are required for you, to go out on the skinny branches and to lead with heart and to do what you know is right. Sometimes doing the right thing is not the easy thing. And it can make a big difference for those of us who are up to big things and wanting to produce results and make things happen and really be able to reliably perform well. To have the experience of being in the flow more often so that work doesn't seem like work. Things don't feel so hard or pressured. We're able to have that experience of like being in deep contact with, our own bodies, our own emotions, our space, and become so immersed in something that we lose ourselves. It's almost as if we don't even realize the minutes are passing by and we are just almost one with what we're doing. We're engaged, we're present, we're in the moment, moving moment to moment through something, and we've sort of forgotten ourselves. That's a really great ride to be able to take some of the time in life. And a lot of times flow feels elusive. It feels like something that a train you just can't catch. And once in a while you do, but you're not exactly sure how it happened. But it happened in a context. It happened under the right conditions. So this Tiara tool is building toward a point to have you really consider what you can do in your physical environment to increase the odds that the wave of flow comes your way. That what I'm saying is that by recognizing that you can have an impact on the conditions in your life, you can actually increase the likelihood of having the experience of flow. You can't control it. There's no light switch for it. You can't force it on demand. And you can create conditions in which it's sort of a riper context for being in the flow to arise and to be able to enjoy and ride that wave while it lasts. All right, so how do we do that? How do we experience more flow? Well, I think the first thing is let's narrow the field. So I want to show you our actual Tiara tool. And as you watch this video, feel free to pause, and just take the time you need to answer the questions, to contemplate. There's no rush. All right, so let's narrow down what's an area of life or areas of life where you want to experience flow more often. And it can even be something like, I'd like to experience more flow and ease with email, but you're in the flow of like, wow, each email, I don't know, I get to leave people better than I found them. And that you're able to engage with things in a way where you feel like you're immersed in it. What are areas of life where you'd like more flow? And it could be also that you just want to have more flow and better be able to transition in and out of things during the day as well. That's another type of flow that we can really nurture. Okay, I wish that I could have you share with me right now what that area is. Please know I would honor that you want to choose to have flow in an area of your life, because having the intention of creating conditions that are ripe for flow will make a difference in your life across the board, I believe. All right. So we're going to focus specifically on environmental alignment, but I want to give you some context before, kind of create a little bit of a buildup here for you of what actually you want to align in your environment. So flow, if we think about flow, I'm going to actually pull up my screen and show you a different image. So one way to think about flow, and I don't know where this comes from, so I don't know who to credit as the source of this image, but is to think about flow as that it's really somewhere in the intersection of discipline, having some kind of like constraint or structure. There's an integrity, there's rules, there's some boundaries, there's a discipline. But then inside that structure, that discipline, there's freedom, there's surrender, there's an opening, there's a creativity, there's a spaciousness, there's a willingness. And that you actually need both the structure and the freedom in order for there to be flow. So this is an example of what I mean by a polarity. All right, the polarity is actually something where you are kind of in this land of there's this body, this entity that exhibits opposite properties. That's the polarity. There's discipline and there's surrender in the polarity. And that actually, whenever there's a polarity, we need contact with both. But for flow to be present, if we're all discipline, all constraint, all rule bound, all tight, it's going to be so hard, right, for the waters to flow. But if we're so surrendered and we're so let go and there's no rules and no boundaries, we're likely to sort of disintegrate into chaos. There's no order to anything. Things can't really happen and move forward, right? It's a little bit like if we had too much yang and not enough yin, or too much yin and not enough yang. They're sort of two sides of the same coin, and you really actually, we need contact for flow to occur. We actually need to be honest with ourselves about what kind of planning and scheduling do we need to do? What kind of boundaries do we need to have around whether our email's open or whether we can hear sounds on our phone? What's that container, some more of a state of constraint that we need to be in so that we can then go out and move. So just put some words to help capture some of the dimensions of what this idea of discipline and surrender. Some other ways to think about it is, for flow to be present, there needs to be some degree of constraint, yet also freedom. And then at any given moment, what we might be needing is to lean more in the direction of freedom or more in the direction of constraint. There's no one set recipe that you can put forth that will always work, because the conditions around you are constantly changing internally and externally. And in any given moment, given what you're wanting to get in the flow with, you might be needing to lean more towards discipline, constraint, or surrender and freedom. To be able to be in the flow, we really need to be engaged. We need to be engaged with something, like on a path. My attention is given forward to something. I am making an effort. There's engagement. Yet, if I'm overly engaged, overly intense, there's not enough relaxation for me for creativity to be sparked, to be able to think in new ways and solve problems and move beyond perceived boundaries, because I'm too tight. I'm overly engaged in a really intense way. I'm not relaxed and open enough. So we have to be able to dance in that. The other thing about this polarity that it's pointing to is that we actually do need to feel some sense of protection. I am safe. I'm safe. I am Peg in our community, one of our facilitators and global partners. She did a beautiful job in when I led this session, talking about how the astronaut is free to go and do what he or she is there to do, right? To be a scientist, to be out into the world doing their job. But it's a lot easier to do that knowing they're tethered to the spaceship, like having a sense of being protected. I am protected. I'm here with myself, and I have people around me who I can, reach out to for support. And we feel a sense of being safe so that we can then be willing to be vulnerable. But it's really important that we recognize that the things that we're doing make us feel vulnerable. And we have to be willing to touch into that and acknowledge that. And if we don't acknowledge it, it's unconscious to us. A lot of times it starts to run the show and we move into overprotecting. Our behavior is designed, our way of thinking and operating is designed to keep us safe. That's the agenda. And now it's really hard to be in the flow because now we're in more of a survival mode. Survival mode and flow don't go very well together. And then if you think about for little kids, one of the things little kids really need is they need contact, right? They need to be held. They need to feel safe. They need to feel protected. That's my dog barking while I'm filming. They need that contact. And you think about babies need skin to skin contact. At the same time, we also, as you start to develop as a toddler, you start to need more and more space. You need room to explore. Our development actually depends on us having contact, safety, held, but also room to explore and experience and actually to take things in through our senses to activate our development. We actually need contact and space. So just take a moment for yourself and reflect on for yourself. Do you see, have you been in maybe certain areas of life, there's not been enough structure or discipline, constraint? Maybe there hasn't been enough surrender or freedom or relaxation. And it could be different in different areas, or just to notice if maybe you've lost connection with one side of those polarities. You can just pause and take the time you need to write down your reflections. And let's move on now to the next page. Let's talk about environmental alignment. So environmental alignment, this is such an important aspect of being able to really live in the flow. Now, environmental alignment basically means the action of aligning your environment with the actions you want to take, the results you want to produce, and the way you want to live your life. Pay special attention to whether your environment is optimized for distraction or for high performance and for meaningful recovery, right? That you want an environment that, in a sense, what I'm saying is that it's going to help you really dance in the polarities. It's an environment that's optimized for meaningful engagement, for high performance, for focus, concentration, and sitting down and actually getting real work done in a meaningful way, engaging with whatever it is that you're up to in a way that feels like wholehearted, that you're there. And then you also have to have an environment that allows you to recover from what that takes to lead that powerfully, to live and act that powerfully, is that we have real time to drop out and rest and relax. So here's the invitation for all of you, is let's take some time to think about our physical environment. And first, I'd like you to consider what needs optimization in your physical environment for flow, for productivity, for high performance. What is it that actually needs to be optimized? Do you need to clean up some things in your electronic environment where it's hard to find the right version? You need to do a lot of unsubscribing. There's just way too much email flowing through. Are there some things that really need to be delegated, refiled, cleaned up, a better system? What do you need in your physical environment so that it's easier for you to show up and work, right? And so there might be things that you need to do one time, like clean up some aspect of your environment that's electronic or in the physical realm. Or there's things you need to do that are sort of like your environmental alignment, your physical environmental alignment, hygiene. It's the hygiene that every week you clean off your desk and Windex, get out the Windex and clean it down. And that forces you to not let things pile up. There's just things that you do that are ongoing. For example, maybe you once a week you do half an hour of unsubscribing of email. I'm making these things up, but you think about what would support you and having an environment that is welcoming to the future you to show up and sit down and get to work and do what you're there to do. Okay, so pause this as you need to, but go ahead and take notes about what needs optimization. And then out of that, you can actually take some time to write down what are the actions you would commit to taking, even just starter actions, 1, 2, 3 things that you would commit to doing over the next 7 days to make your environment better optimized for high performance, for engagement, for real work getting done. What are those things that you will commit to doing? And once you have written down the actions you're committing to taking, let's shift our attention to what needs optimization in your physical environment for meaningful, like real recovery, relaxation, rejuvenation. What do you need in your environment to remind you and help you and encourage and invite you to settle down, to rest, to surrender fully and let go for a little bit? There is a time and a place where we really benefit from fully surrendering, but a lot of us need some kind of like structure and something around that. We need to know it's time limited. We need to have a specific practice. So think about what you actually need in your environment, in the physical environment that creates kind of the scaffolding, the structure for you, the constraint, so that you can let go inside of it and recover from the time that you're working in such an engaged way. So take a few moments to write that down. This is worth revisiting again and again and again, by the way. And then when you're ready, you can write down what are the actions that you commit to taking to optimize your environment? What are those? What are you specifically going to do? It might involve making a purchase. It might involve painting walls. It might involve cleaning something up, creating more of a sacred space for yourself. Like really, for real, what will you do? This is about deeply, deeply nurturing yourself by creating a space where you can let go. So it's a simple exercise that you can do ongoingly. Just check in with yourself. How am I doing? How much flow is present? Oh, okay. Well, how am I doing in the realm of discipline and surrender? What am I needing? Let me look around my physical environment. You know, how is it optimized for me to actually work and engage? What is it that I need to have in my environment present? And what's going on in my environment that really nurtures my ability to let go, to surrender, to recover, and to rejuvenate, and to help us really get into this cycle where one aspect of flow that this is supporting is being able to flow more readily back and forth between engaged, concentrating, focused, meaningful work. Like I'm in, and then you know what? I'm out. And over time with practice, I really do believe that all of us in the Tiara Resource Circle, like together, what we can do is we can learn how to move in and out almost at will, to be able to call on ourselves that I'm pulling out and it's time to rest. And it might take me a little while to wind down, but once I turn my boat in that direction, that's where I'm headed. And you know what? Now I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to get on my computer and I'm going to engage. And I know that I can engage fully because I know a really nice rest and release from this is coming. That's the cycle I believe that we can get into, and that kind of a flow where we feel like we can just ongoingly regulate our own nervous systems and take care of ourselves moment to moment, whether that's about supporting ourselves to really engage and make something happen, right? To sort of be giving into the world, or to stop and then move into more of a receptive mode. And both of those are necessary in our lives. All right, I hope you enjoyed this Tiara Tool. I enjoyed bringing it to you. And until next time, I wish you well.